The pictures tell the story. This life had many shades. I'd wake up every morning and before I'd start each day, I'd take a drag from last night's cigarette that smoldered in its tray. Down a little something, then be on my way.
Hey guys, it's David here with the Whiskey Rebellion, and I just want to point out that transition was flawless, and I'd like to attribute that to Jody not being on the call. That's where I'm at with it. I was like, that one went perfect. It's because he wasn't here. That's what I'm going with. Anyway, happy Thursday to everybody. I won't say happy 420, but that is a thing that was very obvious in my office today. For real. Anyway, want to thank you all for being here. Thank you guys who are joining us or watching. Please get in the comments. I had posted a topic today. Baker's already here and only to say moist. Well, actually, Baker, we hope we hear a little bit more from you because our topic tonight is going to be about what would you do if you owned a liquor store? And that's more specifically to the subtopic of how would you treat your allocations? How would you go about trying to earn more maybe, or how would you go about selling them? Like, what would your strategies be? And we kind of want to hear from everybody about that. But first, what's everyone drinking tonight? I'll go first because I'll be real quick. I'm drinking the 896 rum from Barbados. This was some Fine Dog shampoo sent to me by my guy Mark. Still enjoying it. I'm looking at more than likely a bottle kill tonight. There's just a wee bit left, and this guy's only clocking in at 80 proof, so it's going to go down fast. That's me. Well, actually, Mark, sir, how you doing? What are you drinking?
What's up, fellas? I'm well. I am sipping. I did two fresh cracks, but I'm sipping on Castle and Key Weeded.
Okay, nice.
So I just opened it. So first sip was pretty good, not bad. I have to come back to give you tasting notes. I hate doing it off the very first sip, but
yeah, give it a minute.
I like the first sip, so no complaints. I've heard complaints, but usually they're about the other bourbon. So I had that. I just hadn't opened it. So
all right.
Yes.
Right. Sounds like a nice one.
Lovely. All right. That's a refreshing sound. Gino, sir. What are you drinking tonight?
Off the recommendations that Rob has been talking about every time he grabs some of these, is I picked up a bottle of Liberty Pole today. I got their rye edition.
Very nice.
It is a little bit young, but it does have some qualities that I tend to like in it. And it's got a very unusual nose to it right off the bat. I get cashews on the nose.
Really?
And it's kind of distinctive with that. There's very low heat. When it first hits your palate, the first thing it reminds me of is a tall glass of warm, sweet iced tea.
Huh.
Okay.
And then you get following right behind that, because the heat's not right there at the beginning. It's 92 proof. The heat's not there at the beginning, but you get the heat as sort of like a white pepper. And then the finish is kind of different than what I'm used to too. It's kind of like a velvety, creamy, orange type finish, almost like if you guys are familiar with the orange dreamsicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's what I kind of get on the finish of this. And I would love to see this, like I said, maybe another year or two in the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be an awesome rye. But it's got it on here. It's a blend of their juices. It's about a 2-year age on it. And you can tell it's a 2-year age on it. But it's still, I think, a fairly decent pour.
So solid pour, needs some more age. I think before we started, Rob pointed out that they do have a 6-year rye. Mm-hmm. Is that correct,
yeah,
Rob?
they always, if you go to their distillery in Washington, PA, they've usually got something that's where they do all of their private barrel or bottle releases that are usually between 4 and 6 years on the releases, and they come out like I'm sitting here staring at it. They did a peated rye that it just, and phenomenal. The peated bourbon to me was a little over peat, but
no. But go ahead.
I know.
If I want peated, I want to fucking taste it, man. I want to smell it. I want it. You know. Go ahead.
And the peated bourbon does that. It was just a little too scotchy peat for me, but the peated rye, the spiciness and the pepperiness of the rye kind of tamped down that peat, and it's freaking delicious.
Yeah, you might actually like the is it the Connemara, the peated Irish whiskey? I might be mispronouncing.
I've seen that one.
No,
you get a lot of peat on the nose. It's a suggestion of peat on the palate. Disappoints me a little bit.
I enjoyed that. It was part of the advent calendar I got.
Yeah, if you guys who may not love peat so much, but want to dabble like that may be a better choice. But anyway, let's move on from there. Chuck, what are you drinking tonight, sir?
Well, I'm drinking two things actually. I'm a little dehydrated from working today. Drinking some of this orange elixir, and also drinking some Old Carter bourbon batch 11. This one is happens to be distilled in Tennessee, so I'll leave that up to you on where that may be from. So good stuff though. Old Carter just always seems to put out some very, very good products, and I've never really been disappointed in any of them. Every one that I've had.
Who actually owns them? I don't really know.
They are
is the company or if they have
the Carters.
Mark and Sherry Carter in the company.
Okay, so it's just them,
Yes, it's just them. They actually got their start with Dixon Dedman of Kentucky Owl.
Okay.
Back in 2017, I think. They got their start, and they worked with Dixon Dedman for a while. And then, he taught them the ropes and everything. And finally, they went off on their own. But,
nice.
Good stuff. Always have some good products out there. And always looking forward to whatever they have. I always try to get what I can.
Very nice. Very nice. Rob, sir. You're killing me moving the bottles around. Everyone can hear that. All right.
Thomas S. Moore. This is
go.
The port cask finish. Really love this one. You really get the port really comes through. If you're into that tawny kind of sweet port thing, it really comes through in the taste on this one. It was that dark cherries, dark stone fruits, kind of a really, really nice thing. But I do have a question for so my bosses for Employee Appreciation Day got me a bottle of this is
over this way. Yep.
Three Keys
Distillery.
It's their bourbon. It's a Kentucky bourbon. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that one.
No.
My boss's neighbor loves this, and he's like, "You'll love it. You'll love it." I'm like, "Okay." I'll give it a crack.
If someone gives me a bottle of bourbon, I tend to find a use for it.
I've seen that logo.
But yeah, I'm interested in it because I've never seen that one before myself. So yeah, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah, I've seen the logo somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where, and I don't think I've ever tried it though.
Gotcha. And before we move on, I had one final question. It was Gino. I think you had picked up a bottle of the Real McCoy today.
Yes, I did,
and I believe that was the 5-year.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts? Because I understand it's a Foursquare product, which I generally have a high opinion of Foursquare, but as we know, they're a little bit on the pricey side. I understand Real McCoys are a little bit cheaper. I've never bought one because I'm always like, I don't know what to think of this. Can anybody speak to it? This kind of like follows.
I haven't tried it yet. The price point that I found it at, I was babysitting my grandsons today at PPA, stopped at Fine Wines and beverages, and picked up the Liberty Pole, and the rum aisle just started saying, "Come here, come here," and seeing that one sitting there, I says, "Okay, I've heard people talk about that. It's supposed to be pretty good." Price point was like $30. I said, "Can't beat that."
Yeah.
And right beside it was the Appleton 12-year. So that had to come home with me as well. So I'm looking forward to trying that. It'll probably be tomorrow.
Very
when I
nice.
pop that
Yeah,
up.
I'm interested to hear what you think about that, because it's one of those ones that I don't know whether or not to pull the trigger on. I've had the Appleton 12. I think it's decent. It's on par with a lot that you'll kind of find around that price point for the Appleton 12. But yeah, with the real McCoy, especially because it's a 5-year, I go 5-year and rum. I go, ooh, I don't know, but then it's a Foursquare product,
It's
so it leaves me really
That's why I picked
undecided.
it up.
Yeah, because
Now, one thing, David, if you're in, like you are, you're into rum. It may, the 5-year may be not to up to your standards, I guess you would say.
Okay.
Because I could see it. The 5-year would be great for someone that's newer to rums. Like I have this bottle of the 12-year.
Yeah,
and
I've
it's
seen more of those.
very, very good.
Yeah.
For a few bucks more. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nowhere to be seen.
You're lucky you found that at a fine one. It's a good spirit store.
I honestly,
Yeah,
I've seen Real McCoy a bunch on the shelves and passed on.
They had several of that and several different types of the Appleton. I grabbed the 12-year.
Yeah.
Well, if you were in no, that's Total Wine.
Yeah, no.
If you're in a Total Wine, another product that is Foursquare is called Dorleys. And it has a parrot, like a macaw parrot on the label.
Okay.
And the bottle is the same exact bottle as the Foursquare bottles with that waxed medallion in it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to take a
You're
look.
looking for that?
I've never seen the other. I've seen a bunch of Real McCoy, and I just never know what I never really knew what to think of them. But yeah, it's the age is with rum is always just terribly important to me. And I've had 6-year rums that were really good. But I do start to worry when those numbers go any lower. Even with the higher quality rum. Now with the lower quality rum, like what is it, Baku or something like that? Like, I think I've had the 8-year, and it's basically a headache in a bottle. Like it's you don't want to go that low with something like that. Mark, you're laughing because you know what I mean. You're muted, but yeah.
I tell you one that I picked up that this past Friday that I'm really enjoying. I'm going to get another bottle of that is Papa's Pilar, and that is the one that's finished in the Spanish sherry casks.
Yes,
that is absolutely.
I need more of those in my life. Yeah, because I turned a friend of mine onto those recently, and they're tearing it up.
Yeah.
And I've been putting a dent in my bottle as well. But gosh, I need more money. That's what it really comes down to. I need more money, guys. Why do we not make money doing this show? Anyway, let's get on to the topic. And the topic is, again, to refresh, if you owned your own liquor store, like, what would you do about your allocations? Would you do anything particular to get more, like, having to push, certain products in order to get more allocations? And how would you go about selling the allocations that you do receive? Chuck is going to kind of go through some options for us. And for those who are watching or listening, but let's do that, and then we'll kind of go from there, and we'll give our own takes on how we would treat that if we were the owners.
So, thank you. For one, the distributors basically put out the allocated products or provide the allocated products to their customers, the stores, in a 3-tier system. By basically, especially if it's like Sazerac products, basically you as the store owner have to buy a large amount of, say, Wheatley vodka. What is that one? There's another vodka.
Tito's?
Not Tito's, begins with a P. But either way.
Yeah. Pinnacle?
Platinum 7 times, Platinum 10 times, Wheatley vodka. Then you have Fireball, 99 bananas, all the little, the little bottles that you would see behind the counters, little 99-cent bottles. I guess they call them toots, and the little tiny things that people throw out in the parking lot once they're done with them. After they drink them in their car, they toss them in the parking lot, litter the parking lot up. But yeah, they have to go through and buy a lot of these products, and that's what people don't understand. They just can't get these products at a whim. They have to go through a lot of jump through hoops to get these. So that brings us to the next question of how do you, as a store owner manager, allocate these to your customers, people that buy from you? One way of doing it is through a raffle system, basically where you as the store owner have store picks. They might be slow selling store picks. Not every store pick's going to be, Blanton's or Weller 107 and so forth. And those will usually go fast, within a few hours. However, you have other store picks that will sit on the shelf and they have to move them. So they have a raffle. You buy one store pick, you get a ticket. You buy two store picks, you get 3. However it may be, you get a, raffled in, put in this raffle in order to basically have the opportunity to purchase a product, an allocated product. Then there's the another option of basically just putting them on the shelf at secondary or higher pricing and letting people just come in the store. If you want it, here it is. No haggling, no nothing. And that does happen a lot. Then there's the other option of putting them out on the shelves at maybe MSRP or just a hair higher, maybe 10% higher, and allowing customers to come in and just, go nuts. However, there are some drawbacks to that, such as when you go into the store, you see those products. You as the customer see it and say, oh, look, there's Blanton's or there's such and such or whatever it may be that you've been hunting for. You're just interested in that product. You don't see anything else in the store. You don't want anything else in that store. You just want all the allocations. And you're going to hop back and forth to store and just go and look for allocations. And if you don't get them, you'll leave. And that's the one reason why I can side with store owners for not doing that. Because they're looking to sell other products. They want to sell beer. They want to sell wine. They have to sell other things. They can't make their living off of just allocated products. You're not helping them at all in that sense. And then there's the other option of only selling to your good customers that you have relationships with, whether it be customers that spend X amount of dollars in your store per year, whether it be someone that just, comes in once a week and buys something, however that works out. And that store owner's happy with that arrangement. They will offer you products that they don't keep on the shelves for at MSRP or just a little bit higher, and then you have the option to buy it or not. They want to keep their customers happy. They want regular customers to come in and spend money. And basically they want them to stick with that store. They don't want you hopping all over the place looking for allocations.
Exactly.
So with that, I think that pretty much covers it. There may be a few other, outlying options here and there, but I'll
turn it over
to whoever wants to respond to this.
So I wanted to start first by John had some comments here that I wanted to read before we proceeded further. This was his opining. He suggested the point system, point per dollar spent, 2 points for store picks, allocate the bottles for MSRP in tiers.
That sounds like a Total Wine thing.
Yeah, it sounds like what they would do at Total Wine. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's awful. Personally, my own thoughts on it is, from a consumer standpoint, the way I think about it is, I don't want to have to be, again, check the name, the pours. I don't want to have to be a whale to ever have a shot at, I don't have to spend $10,000 at your store, which I will never do, in order to have enough of a relationship with you for you to offer me something that's allocated, at MSRP or a little bit above, right? Like if I really, really, really wanted a certain thing, if I'm being personable, and I think that matters, and I think building relationships matter. You shouldn't just breeze in and go, hey, what's your allocated stuff? But like if I'm a regular, and I am, doing business at your store, I think that should count for something. So I'm a little bit undecided, because I think my initial go-to would be kind of like the raffle system, that I'm going to come in, and I like, there's a liquor store in Spring Hill that the only time I ever acquired Blanton's on my own. And it wasn't just a raffle for a couple of bottles. It was a big raffle for a multitude of bottles, from like Pappy to Blanton's to just a bunch of other things, Stag, Junior, Senior, all that stuff at the time. And it was a big raffle with a lot of stuff. And what would happen is, okay, so you put in, you bought 2 or 3 bottles, you get a ticket per bottle, and at the end they call you up, they tell you whether or not you got it. And, I got the calls, well, you didn't get it, but would you like to know if these other things don't get picked up? And I said, sure, keep me in the loop. And, they ended up calling me back a few days later and say, hey, no one went after this, no one went after this, no one went after this. Do you want any of these? And I said, yeah, I want, in this case, the Blantons. And I said, yeah, I want to get that Blantons. So this is like 3, maybe 4 years ago now. So I ran out and I got, Blantons for $65. And, I was happy as a fucking clam. And I had bought a bottle of something I wanted anyway to get myself in there. I'm doing business. It's helping them. It's helping me, and it's building a relationship. I still go in there and they remember me. And this is from a few years ago. I go into other places regularly and they don't have any idea who the hell I am. And so, I'm not really invested in spending money in those stores. So when I think of, if I'm an owner or proprietor, if I'm going to have allocated, the way I'm going to sort of disperse those is going to be in a way, whatever the method is, that's going to drive basically engagement and build relationships and get people to come in my store more than just the day that I have that allocation. So I would want to focus on building relationships. Like that one liquor store, they've always treated me nice. I'm going to go back. And that's how it is. And there's a liquor store literally across the road from them that treated me like a nobody, and I never go back. So that's for me. Mark.
All right. So first off, let me I want to touch on one thing that John put up. So the Iceman put up the 3-tier system will stop and alleviate that quid pro quo. No, it doesn't. It actually enhances it, to be honest with you. It does not protect buyers at all. It enhances quid pro quo 100%. Again, perfect example of that, as we talked about, when was that, back around the holiday season, when that RNDC beef with Buffalo Trace with Sazerac came. Normally the entire, so I'll give you an example. Maricopa County, which is one of the largest and most populated counties in the country outside of New York and Los Angeles, we would normally see, as an example, Weller Special Reserve. You would get 100 cases of Weller Special Reserve, Blanton's, Stag Junior. Just use those 3. 100 cases of those 3 in the entire county in one drop. When this beef with RNDC came up and they had to get rid of bottles, there were 100 cases dropping at stores. So understand what I'm saying. The entire county, 100 cases. After the lawsuit, 6 Costco's had 100 cases of SR, 50 cases of Stag Junior, another 30 to 40 cases of Blanton's, and then another X amount of cases of 107 were popping up. Then Eagle Rare popped up even more. So no, that doesn't help at all. It actually, to me, enhances. I've seen that firsthand. Now, to the question at hand, I would probably do some variation of my own 3-tier system. What I mean by that is, first off, what's the allocation? What level of allocation? There's different levels. Parker's is not the same level as Blanton's and Eagle Rare. Let's just be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Old Forest's birthday. That's not the same as say, I don't know. I'll use Eagle Rare for that one, or whatever. So I'm with you, Dave, in that you don't want to necessarily create a whale, you know, because everyone can't afford to be that. So
Yeah.
you're essentially saying these folks are going to carry everything else. No, it shouldn't be that way. However, if it's that's why I said different tier of those allocated, I would do one where there would be raffle. I do raffle. I would definitely have some of those allocated for my frequent buyer, my frequent customers. Not saying that they only buy bourbon. Like again, someone like me, I buy wine. Granted, it's
Yeah.
probably more for my dad, but I keep a few bottles of wine. I buy
For
rum.
sure.
I buy rum.
Oh yeah.
Certain times of year, usually the holidays, I will make sure that there's at least a few bottles of vodka and some tequila. Now, I normally have a few bottles of tequila. I probably have maybe 2 bottles of vodka right now, and one, of course, or 2 of those are Wheatley from packages. So I do have a couple
That's the
of
way
those.
it goes.
And Wheatley is actually not a bad vodka for those. I know people see it.
Hey,
Wheatley takes a beating, but it's not a bad vodka at all. It's not a bad vodka. Now, it's not flavored like Pinnacle, but I don't like that stuff anyway.
yeah.
And then I would say kind of in the middle would be um, something where I would do some packages. Again, it depends on what the allocation is, because all bottles are not created equal. They're not. So if it's, again, you're not going to run around and find Parkers. You'll find more Papillon shells than Parkers right now in the US.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit harder, even more hard to get. God forbid we talk about that Old Forester Presidential.
Mhm.
You're not finding that on shelf. That's a super high end bottle.
Yeah.
When that pops up, then that might be one that will go to a whale. You've spent enough to deserve to get that bottle, versus somebody who's just randomly coming to the street one time, they will never come back. No, I'm not letting you buy that. I'm not letting you buy my, my Pappy 15 or 23 or maybe a lot B, maybe. You can get some Eagle Rare if that depends on where I am, if that's allocated for me, maybe Stag Junior. But my BTAC, not if you're just one person off the street, no, because that's not fair to my customers. That's not fair to my customers at all. And again, if you come in, you buy beer. Again, like I'll buy beer now. I'm not the biggest. I'm not a Bud Light person, so I'll buy stout, Guinness, and
There you go.
some other things. But for that person, yeah, you'll get access to some other bottles. So that would be my variation of a 3-tier system.
Okay. No, I like it. I like it. Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for, you don't want to, reward people who breeze in off the street and only care about allocations, because it disrespects your regular customers, people you've built relationships with. But you also don't want to turn any of those people into, a whale, because I think that's also that's predatory. It's like you basically have to be a sucker to get a shot at this, and you have to have more money than sense if you want to have this bottle, which I don't mind because you're spending your money at my store. But I'm treating you in a way that I think is honestly disrespectful.
Yeah. And one other comment, I will 100% have a plant in secondary groups, because I need to know.
Yeah.
If I catch you selling one, if I know that you came,
you'll never get another one, right?
Right.
You're not coming back. So I would definitely watch the secondary groups, local and national, as best. However, I got to do it. I'll get someone in there. Or
that's smart. That's smart. Yeah.
Hey,
stock accounts, man. All right. Gino, sir, what's your take?
I think my system would be similar to what Mark's saying, except I would have probably some lower tier allocations out on the shelf at secondary prices, depending on what kind of allocation I got.
Yeah.
I mean, the top tier stuff, you're not going to see that on the shelf. That would be for my regulars, for the people that I know would appreciate it. The people, like Mark was saying, that's not flipping it on the secondary. The guys that come in every week looking, okay, what's new? What's this? What's that? Hey, I got a little something over here. It's yours if you want it at this price. But there would be some up on the shelf, but it would not be at MSRP. And that would be for the people that jump from store to store to store. And those twits, if they want to spend that kind of money, help yourself. There it is. See you later. Bye.
Yeah.
But my regulars who are here week after week, here it is.
That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I think I would run it. I don't think I would run a lottery. I wouldn't run any raffles. Yeah, no, there's too much disappointment over that. You know, there would be options for them to have if they were a regular customer versus someone Joe Schmo off the street. Yeah.
I hear that. I hear that. Rob, sir.
Go
on.
If it was my option, I wouldn't get involved in the liquor business at all. But
really, because I've thought about it more than once for myself. I was like, I know enough about this, probably more than a lot of people working in liquor stores, maybe not as much as some. But I was like, I could make a run at that. But go ahead, tell me why I don't want to do it.
As much as I'm in a customer service industry, right? So I deal with people on the daily, on the the picky people here and there. The thought of having somebody come into me and just say, do you have this? Why don't you have this? Fuck you, I'm leaving.
Damn, Karen, I just sold that bottle.
Right. Yeah, you
were ready with that.
Yeah.
He's like,
I would dread just dealing with that on a daily. I kind of like. I don't mind the idea of a lottery for your very high end allocations that we're talking about. The BTACs, the Parkers, the Mictors 20 or 22 year, when if you're lucky enough to get one of those bottles as a store, right? I mean, you're talking a really highly limited product if you're actually lucky enough to get one of those. And I understand, how you get your allocations and having to sell the Wheatleys and sell the Fireballs and sell the airplane bottles, and man, you got to go to an area. You've finding that right area where you've got a customer base who's going to come in and buy all that other stuff, so that you can get, like, I would hate. And I don't want to sound classist, but I would hate to put myself in an area where, you've got people with a lot of money who aren't just coming in and buying a Wheatley's or coming in to buy the Fireball. You've got to be in an area, kind of that in-between area where you're drawing from both sides of the track, so to speak, so that you can move the product that you got to move to get the product that you want to move, so to speak.
Yeah, where I'm at now, and you probably have good experience with this with yourself, because the amount of time you spend around college towns and working in colleges is like, college towns are kind of a sweet spot for that, because the Wheatleys and the Fireballs, you get all these college kids who've cobbled together their pennies to make it to the liquor store. I know, because I used to be the guy to buy it for them when I was in college, and the underage kids, right? You know what? Beer on Dave, that's what they called me. But to get that product out, and then you also have, especially in a lot of these towns, the professors and all the businesses and faculty and stuff like that, they're doing a little bit better financially and have a little bit more refined tastes than the Goldschlager and Fireball. And if you know, and you all know. Then yeah, so you get both ends of that. So there's some liquor stores around here that have become kind of high end as a result of that, and then there's also some that are, especially the ones that are really close to campus, they kind of remain very low tier. And I almost to the point where I was like, I wonder if these guys got some allocated stuff that's just sitting around, because all they ever deal with is college kids all day, and like their prices are not good, if I'm being honest. And which is why I don't go in most of those places, because I'm not really looking for allocated. Usually, I'm looking for the mid tier stuff. What is that scratching? Anybody else hear that? So everyone else. I feel like it's got to be you, Rob.
I'm just sitting here. That's all I'm doing. I'm just sitting here.
Anyway, but yeah, that like, so it's like I don't go into those stores, but I almost wonder, like, are they sitting unallocated because they got this stuff and now they don't know what to do with it because they're dealing with kids who come in with a wad of like physical dollar bills and change to try and buy, Jack Daniels or whatever the hell.
Yeah, and I think if I were ever to go out and do something like that, I kind of like it's like I tell people who and friends who getting into the restaurants or trying to open a restaurant. I'm like, first thing you want to do is you want to do a super small menu.
Mm-hmm.
That'll keep your inventory low. It's kind of trying to figure out where you are in a niche market, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just do a super small store, you've got to keep, you've got to keep a vodka, you've got to keep a gin. But if you find a niche market, if you're a little more higher end, and maybe you get lucky and you pull some allocations in, maybe you don't. But if you're talking dollar volume, if you're selling the higher end, the nicer product, you may have a shot at getting some of the stuff. I don't know much about how the system works, but I would want to keep a limited small store kind of a thing going, because it's just I can't imagine having 10,000 SKUs. Just
it's what a lot of it's like the kind of store you want to run is going to be heavily dependent on the area you're trying to run it in.
True.
You can, there's certain, but like you go up to a big city like Nashville, you can go into a place like Frugal McDougal's, which is a place that I love up there. It's like a giant emporium, and it fits perfectly for the area because it's some of the best prices you'll find in this state. There's a huge selection. You don't really see allocateds though, like you don't, and it doesn't really matter. It's not that they don't have them, but like that's not really their, it's not really what their stock and trade is.
Yeah.
Baker, thanks for the tech support there. He said he backed out thinking it was his feed. It was not. It was something going on in the call, but we're going to not worry about that and move on. But yeah, in a college town, I think there is not located right by campus. I think you could do pretty well because you'll still draw people out because they live all over town. And then you get some of the, a lot of the businesses and other things around here. And this is a little bit more of an affluent town too at this point. So you get people who have the coin to spend, on the $100 and up bottles, so you can put those on your shelf pretty regularly versus, the broke ass college kids. But yeah, any other opinions on like whether or not you would even want to have a liquor store? Because that's a fun question, I think.
I've thought about it. I would. I've thought about it. I definitely would. Mm-hmm. I even own a few domain names.
I'll bet you do. What draws you to the idea, Mark? We're just gonna let that lie.
So
let your imaginations run wild, folks. That's for Whisper Rebellion After Dark.
So honestly, the thing is, a couple things. One, coming from the East Coast. Two, my family's West Indian. You all have met my dad one way or another. There's a lot of things that we can't get here, and not even just talking allocated stuff. So, like as an example, I love lagers and beers from around the world. I can't get many here. Like I love Kingfisher, which is Indian. I can't get Kingfisher here. I can't get Carib or Stag, which are the two beers from Trinidad. I can't get either one here. I used to, now I can't. So to get them, I have to acquire them from the East Coast, excuse me, or have some good, some extra heavy, lower alcohol percentage dog shampoo sent to me. But yeah, like I can't get those. So my niche would be, hopefully, between relationships and things that I would be able to get a few allocated, but also I would carry things that you can't find everywhere. If I had to work on getting one-off distribution, I'll work that out.
So that would be your niche, basically. Is
Yep.
like you're offering that you would be able to essentially source and offer kind of hard to find international beverages. We'll say.
Or even here in the States. So as an example, the bottles that I just grabbed some from Tom. I've already got people that want a case. I've got people that want 2 cases right now. They want a case of one of the sipping creams and another case of the sweet tea. He has a moonshine sweet tea. Oh, it's excellent. But anyway, I've already had, can you get a case? I'm like, I'll see.
I could see you being quite successful, and I'm thinking more about at Mark's liquor store. What I would expect to find: great selection of cigars. First of all,
I would definitely carry some cigars. Yep.
The liquor, wine,
Mm-hmm.
craft beers, international beers.
Yeah.
Rum.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, and liquor, obviously,
And
whiskey, bourbon, all that.
And I would go straight for things that you can't go to every other shop and get.
Yes.
And if I have to work out a one-off, now if I got to work off a one-off distribution, I will work that out some kind of a way. If I got to pay for that extra license to ship, I'll do that. And if I have to pay a little more for the product, I will, because I'll be able to get it back because you can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So if if I want a case of, say, as an example, I mentioned Kingfisher. If I'm sitting there eating my curry and I'm eating some good Indian food, I want a Kingfisher. I can't get it. So if you want Kingfisher, you're going to pay a little more for it. And I can tell you, people will pay a little bit more for it because they can't get it.
Well, now I want to try it. Hell.
Now, it's not something that, I'm not saying I'm going to charge, again, like a secondary bourbon type price. But let's say if a case on the East Coast might be $9, I might have to charge 12 to 15 here. But it's here. I'm not trying to break the bank.
Yeah.
However, I have it. You can't get it.
Yes.
Come see me.
Yeah.
Hey, it costs me that much to have it shipped out here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And while you're here, if your stepdaughter, the one that you keep looking at, you're not supposed to look at, but your stepdaughter and her girlfriends, they want their Fireball. Let them buy the Fireball. You got the crazy cousin that's coming in from East Kentucky. Go ahead and give them some Bud Light. That's what they want. Give them the Bud Light while you're here. And pick up. Look, Powerballs is $7 billion. Go ahead and get your Powerball tickets while you're here.
You would sell the lottery tickets.
Gotta have Powerball.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotta sell a lot of tickets, man.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Baker said he's been shopping at his local and buying a lot. They're now charging $90 for Eagle Rare at his local, and they've been sitting on a case for 2 months at that price point.
Time to start shopping at a different store.
Yeah, time to go somewhere else, because that's too damn much. That's
a little out of touch.
At some point we all have to realize, like, if we're paying what they're asking, they'll keep charging that or more.
Yes.
Bingo.
Yes.
You have to decide. I'm not playing this game anymore.
Oh, let them sit on that case for
the
another
collective
couple months.
insanity of the customer base for some of these products is what's right. And I think that's why we all started, or at least that's why I turned the corner on starting to bag on the taters of going and just throwing money at liquor that's good but not that good, because they're making it worse for everybody in the process.
Yes.
By being willing to pay that kind of money. Eagle Rare is great. Don't get me wrong. I freaking love Eagle Rare, but like,
oh yeah,
$90.
I think we all do. $90, yeah.
And some of the store picks are great.
Yeah, absolutely.
At 50, 60.
Yeah. Or less.
So
the last time I bought Eagle Rare, it was less than that, even for
same here. So if I were to have a store, and I actually have thought about it, the problem is that in Maryland, you have to purchase a license, and there's only so many licenses to go around. And the license is very costly.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking several $100,000 just to have a license.
That's here.
and there's only so many of them. And if somebody drops off, say for example, a liquor store or a restaurant, that sells liquor, they drop off.
Yeah.
Then that becomes open, and then someone else can purchase that license. Then you have to find the spot to start, rent a facility, a store, so those costs add up, and not everyone, understands that, where you just don't, say, hey, I'm ready to start a liquor store, at least in the 3-tier system in Maryland.
Or Arizona.
Yeah.
Exact same thing here.
It's very, very costly. So,
Mhm.
you have to know what you're doing. And if I were to, do it, and basically, with the allocations especially, I don't think I would do the raffles.
Mm-hmm.
I would want my store picks to stand on their own, where I wouldn't have to prop them up with raffles. And
What was that?
I don't know.
That was me. Sorry.
And
I knew it.
I admit,
I knew it was you the whole time.
I'll admit to it when it's me.
I'm just messing with you, man.
But yeah, I wouldn't want my store pick. I would want them to stand on their own and be able to sell without having to do any raffles or anything like that. Not much for the raffles. Maybe occasionally, but because I know some stores have hey, spend $200. I don't really like this either, though. This week or next week, or within the matter of say 3 weeks, spend $200 at the store, and you'll get put in a raffle for, say some mid-tier allocated product.
Sure.
Maybe a Blanton's or something else, in that range. Maybe even something a little higher. But I would basically have, and one other thing to chime in on what Jack had to say about the point system. Problem with the point system, at least in my opinion, is you'll have folks that come in and purchase wines from liquor store, a lot of it, for their restaurants or for weddings and what have you. And they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars all in one fell swoop. And now you have to play catch up. You're not catching up.
No.
And that's the problem. Those point systems work, but that one person or two people that spend that money, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
Those allocations are gone. They're going to those people that just bought all that wine or whatever it may be.
Good point.
I like what Mark had to say about how he would do it. I'm for that as well. But if you come into the store and you're looking for, say, hey, do you have any Buffalo Trace or Bland's? And you just come right up to the register. You don't have anything in your hands. I would say, look, I don't have that, but I do have this and I have this. Would you like to come over and see? Oh, no, I'm only looking for this. Oh, okay. Sayonara.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. I mean, at least buy something, make an attempt.
No, and I always agree with that kind of approach as well. You want to build relationships with people who want to build relationships with you, I think is maybe the caveat, that people who care, people who are going to remember your face, people who appreciate the fact that, you're appreciate your custom, right? And I think those people deserve a little something extra or a little special consideration. 100%. So very strongly agree with that.
Now, what else would help? What else would help that situation is, as Chuck mentioned, if you have a store pick off, if possible, depending on your license in your state, your jurisdiction, offer tastings. Now, okay, you want this, right? Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm not saying it tastes like this. I'm not saying you will. Try this. If you're open to take a test, tell me what you think of that.
In
And
Maryland, you could do that.
Yeah, and that's something that I'll be honest with you. I've walked out of places with several bottles after that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, shit, this is good.
So have I.
Thank you." Yeah.
100%.
But I appreciate that though when they do stuff like that.
Yeah,
too.
treat
Hell
and
yeah.
it's to anybody who comes in, expresses some kind of curiosity. Maybe they have the thing you want, maybe they don't. Or maybe you're not necessarily ready to offer them something allocated. But if you offer them something else and they show some interest, I think that's the kind of thing that should be rewarded.
Yes.
Because you want to engender because here in Murfreesboro, and I don't know if this is true everywhere, but I see liquor stores popping up just left and right. The beer and wines, the vape shops, this and that. Like you can't go 2 blocks without seeing one in some of these places. Like if you're trying to get a customer base that has a little bit of class and
Yes.
doesn't mind spending a little bit of money when they come in the store and things like that. Like
Yes.
you want to build those relationships 100%.
That is true. That is very true.
Who?
Yep.
What?
Very nice, Mark.
Mark, are you
Very
throwing your
nice.
voice? What was that?
I've been no such thing. I don't know what you're talking about, brother. That's okay.
Oh boy.
You're killing me. Oh God. Anyway, now that my train of thought's been derailed, I'm going to read Baker's comments. He says he has been. He was talking about the Eagle Rare and all that. He said he's been out of the stores, even bought a bottle off the road for 41 and brought the receipt to my local and showed them. And you're right, they probably don't give a shit. They
don't care.
Charging.
Nah.
I also really like to have events, maybe local whiskey clubs, wine clubs, whatever, just to get the name out there and have that persona. I agree with that. I like the idea of social events, the things like Fairview where Little John's at. They did the chili cook-off. We had Billy's barbecue and the chili and all that stuff, or the brisket rather. And things like that. It brings people together. Everyone has a fun day. We're doing tastings. They did do a raffle. And they had different bottles in the store picks. I'm sure they sold a bunch of stuff that day. I bought several bottles that day myself. I had a blast. Like stuff like that, I think is amazing and is absolutely the right way to do it. And he also said strippers in the store. You can never go wrong.
True.
But yeah, so the one thing I was going to say is, I've had like the idea, like maybe one day when I get to retire, to open up a liquor store or a bar. And I need to trademark this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway because nobody watches the show, so I'm not worried about it. But it's called Nunez. So it's like, hey, where are you going? Nunez. Like I'm going to Nunez. Nunez, liquor and wine or beer,
Let me go buy that domain right now.
Yeah, right. Mark, you get on it. We'll go into business together. Okay. How about that?
For a fee.
Either a bar, I thought bar because I like bars, but or a liquor store or something like that because I have fun. It's a thing that I'm into. I love talking about it. And I love, giving people kind of experiences. Oh, you like this and that? Okay, maybe try this one. Maybe try that one and get people's feedback and just talk about it. I really enjoy it. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing this show. Because the few people that I talk to about it are people who know that I'm into liquor. They come to me for advice and recommendations, suggestions, and I love talking to them about it. And I say, hey, try this, get this, and I get their feedback. And it's one of the things that really brings me joy is like, oh, I tried this and I loved it. I'm going to tear it up. It's like I was talking about that Papa's Pilar. I turned someone onto that recently, and they're like, in that like slap yourself and put it away situation, otherwise they're going to tear up the bottle. And I'm like, I did good. I made this person really happy. I love that shit. I get a charge out of it. And Baker said self-moist strippers. Okay. Good times. Man. That's where we're at. Self-moist.
And
that sounds like I'm not going to say it. All right. Go on.
Kind of tap onto what you said, Dave. Friends coming to you. Yeah. Most of my friends, most of my work colleagues know that, I enjoy the bourbon. Yeah. I enjoy the whiskeys. I enjoy the ryes. So one of my colleagues just contacted me, her client's like, hey, they're a larger bank and her client wants to do a bourbon dinner for their investors. They're big investors. It's like, would you be interested in doing a pairing dinner, putting together bourbons and a dinner menu for us in September? I'm like, Yeah, why not?
Sounds like a good time.
Should be
Absolutely.
interesting.
So you're doing it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I told her yeah.
Nice. Yeah, come back to us with that. Tell us more about how it's going and what you're doing to prepare. I would love to hear you share on
Yeah,
the
I
show the
would like to hear
pairings that
that.
you have in mind.
Mhm.
And not to put pressure on you, but I think we're all just excited, or at least I am. I don't know.
I am as well.
Oh yeah.
I'd say, tell me more about that. It's because it was like that thing that Jody went to
Yeah.
a month or so
Mhm.
ago, and it was all the different pairings, and all the chefs were doing their combinations and things like that, and then pairing it with whiskey. Baker says,
Oh God, that's a long one.
"That's I know, right?
Oh.
No one's paying me for this." All right. When people ask what I should get for a price point, I always reply with a question: what have you had in the past, and what do you like? Because that way I can direct them to something similar with a similar mash bill or proof. For real.
Good point.
I focus more on palate than like proof, especially because people get misled by that all the time. Because I've given someone a bottle of Evan Williams bottled and bond 100 proof, right? And they're like, oh, it's so, and they said smooth and all this other stuff. It's very easy and drinkable and all this. Again, these are like really non bourbon snob folks, so they don't know. They're just entering kind of this field. And then I gave them, I guess, one of the minis of Diplomatico, the rum, which I find it is an enjoyable rum and is approachable for someone who's new to rum.
Mm-hmm.
It's 80 proof. And they're like, it was so strong. It was this and that. In their mind, that was the stronger liquor, even though it is a full 20% or 20 lower proof. And that's just how it is in their mind. So I don't want to get them confused about it. I'm like, this is what you're going to experience rather than this is the proof, because that doesn't mean as much to them at that stage. But generally speaking, yeah, I think here are those things you like. Here's the direction you need to go. Oh, you don't like things that are too sweet. Okay, well, maybe you're not going to really be that much into dark rum, or that you may be more into rye than bourbons, and things like that. Yeah, no, I think that's tremendous fun.
Very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Now,
Wholeheartedly.
the other thing is that when you mention that, the new people tend to, I'm not going to say they don't drink it correctly, but when they swallow, when they drink it, they take their tongue and turn it into a funnel. Basically, it just goes right down the middle of the tongue
Down the
and
gullet.
just straight back.
Like
They're
a glass
not-
of water.
They're not enjoying it.
No, it's like a glass
It's
of
not-
water.
I think
Exactly.
we've kind of tried at this before with terms of like the proper way to really taste liquor. I think a lot of people who are who came up on their Fireballs and their Jack Daniels and their whatever else, like, it's to get drunk. That's why they're consuming it. They want something that doesn't taste horrible in their mouth while they're getting it down as fast as possible. And that's why they go with things like Fireball, because it like basically,
Mad Dog
bludgeons your
2020,
palate,
man. Go get it.
and it doesn't really taste good or bad. You're just getting it down. And the idea is to like slow down, let it sit in your mouth, appreciate the mouthfeel. Is it oily? Is it light? Is it running down the back of your throat? Like, to give it the time to do all of those things, right? Yeah. These are all things Chuck has said, all right, before you guys give me shit. Like, and I think he's on point. Like, to give it time, to let it marinate, right?
All we need is a glory hole.
To really experience it. I think Baker's gonna be coming back around with that any moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, to really take your time with something, it's not something a lot of people who are kind of newer to it do. But anyway, but final comment from Baker that I think I'm going to wrap before.
And this is why we can't get monetized.
Exactly. Because we're all filthy, and it doesn't get better as we continue to drink. All right. When I was first getting into whiskeys and bourbons, I actually asked the bartender to shake my whiskey ice, then strain it into my glass. Shake my whiskey ice? Okay. All right.
Okay.
And
he aerated
shall
it.
receive. Oh, I must have misspelled receive.
Did he shake it more than 3 times?
Yeah,
To the left or to the right?
because then you're playing with it.
That beaver.
I think the first time I heard that I was 14, and I was told you'll never not remember that for the rest of your life. That person was correct. Here at almost 42, that was right. Anyway, guys, well, I've got a little bit more rum to drink because this bottle's not quite dead. So I think we're going to move. Okay. It's only gave you make eye contact, Baker.
All right, Diplo.
Hey, you know, you don't gotta out yourself. It's fine. We accept you. We do. But
All right, that's that Diplo stuff.
Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end out the live show here. We're gonna move on into the after show. Much love to everyone. We've got a good little viewer base here. Thank you all for watching, participating. Thank you for the comments, particularly Mr. Baker there.
Gentlemen, be good to
We'll be
yourselves.
back next week. That's right. Billy's not here to say it.
Nice.
But Rob said it. Y'all be good to yourselves. Be
Salute.
safe. Drive like you know each other, and we'll see you next time.
Drink good by yourself.